Hey guys, welcome back to another one of my videos. Today I'm going to be reviewing a movie that I've been wanting to see for a very long time, and that movie is Quentin Tarantino's 1994 masterpiece, Pulp Fiction. So yes. So before we begin this video, be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Like the video, comment down below what's your favorite scene from Pulp Fiction, what's your favorite Tarantino movie, and what's your favorite crime gangster or movie. So yeah, so be sure to enjoy the video. So, thank you. And also, if you are subscribed to the channel, be sure to ring the bell for notifications so you never ever miss a video. So yes, let's get started. So Pulp Fiction was released in 1994. It won the Palme d'Or and Best Original Screenplay. And since then, people have claimed this to be one of the greatest movies of all time. Both critics and audiences do. But is it really a classic? Is it really a masterpiece? That answer is yes. This movie is fantastic. I loved this movie so much. It was incredible. I've never seen a movie this original. I mean, it takes a mind to have both an original story and an original idea, an original characters, original settings, like cool settings, cool characters, iconic lines, especially by Jules, played by Samuel L. Jackson, which I thought should have got the best supporting actor because it was fantastic. His acting in this movie is fantastic. It's amazing. Basically everybody in this movie was really good. I loved it. I think this is Tarantino's best movie, right next to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Django Unchained. So yes, in Pulp Fiction, the movie's not in chronological order. It's like, let's say you were to take a scene, you were to chop it in half, and then you put another scene but chop it in half and put that scene together. So you have two different scenes, but one is cut in half and the other cut in half, and you put that together to make one scene. And then you do that for the rest of the movie, and I like this because it keeps you interested. Because let's say you pause the movie, let's say you're in a Jules and Vincent scene where they go to the apartment, and that scene is cut in half, they don't show the whole thing. And then you go to another scene, and then you're like, okay, I didn't see the full scene. So what's going to happen to these characters? What's going to happen, like, after they get out or whatever? Like, so, but you're curious. So it keeps you entertained, like, the whole time. It keeps you to the edge of your seat. And that's another thing I like about Tarantino. He always keeps you in the edge of your seat. And I really like that because it's suspenseful, but at the same time, it's very entertaining. Another thing about this movie that is great is the dialogue. The dialogue, I could listen to Jules and Vincent talk about quarter pound cheese for 3 hours straight. I would not get bored. You know why? Because dialogue is fantastic. I absolutely love it. This is Tarantino's best dialogue movie. This whole movie centers around dialogue. Basically, all his movies center around dialogue. But this dialogue really drives the story. It really is entertaining. This is kind of the dialogue that you talk with your friends, family, or whatever. You talk about these kind of things. Even they're not the things that you do in real life. Like, Jules and Vincent are murderers, but they talk about quarter pound cheese in France, and also talk about how having a foot massage is very bad. And you have these very kind of like conversations that you don't really see in movies that much. I mean, seriously, like, when is the last time in a crime movie, the modern crime movie, let's say 2000s on, that you've seen a scene where characters just talk about things that, are going on in their life? Not exposition, not storytelling, not lazy, overhead, or like narrating, lazy narrating. Just the characters talking to each other about things that real people talk about. Have you seen that in the movie? Have you seen that anywhere? It's so rare to find a movie like this because it's so original in every single aspect, but also with its originality, it has many other things to offer. And the dialogue, the acting, especially Samuel L. Jackson, he does a fantastic job in this movie. Bruce Willis is actually really good acting in this film. This is like Bruce Willis is a good actor, but he's never been like the acting type. He's always been just an action guy. He's a good actor. He just he's not like Marlon Brando acting, but In this movie, he's really like Oscar worthy. At least in the Golden Globe. I mean, it was fantastic. Honestly really liked it, and each character has an arc, which it's like Jules has like an arc where he's like a murderer, but then he decides to redeem himself. Vincent gets killed because he stays basically the whole movie is about redemption. Each of the characters, like Jules, Uma Thurman, she plays the boss's wife. I can't remember. I just forgot her name. I'm so sorry. But it's basically the story about redemption. Many people have discussed about this, but it's about redemption. Um, and another thing that is very interesting that most crime movies don't do is that well, actually most movies do, but this film doesn't. Is that most crime movies have like different kind of stories, but they're all basically about the same thing. Rise and fall of a criminal empire, or the life of a gangster, or basically I don't know, kind of like a formulaic life of a person. But this movie is just like the day in life of these criminals, like the jobs they had to do. Their snappy dialogue, and it's very fresh. Like this film's so original. You have never seen a movie like this. I mean, I could name any other movie that I've seen that's like a crime movie that I could go like, yeah, they're copy off of this copy of that. This movie copied off of nothing. This was inspired by other films, but to copy off a movie, like take, copy off or have a similar story, and to be inspired are two different things. And you could really see this in kind of like the surfing kind of music. It's like a western kind of vibe. And that's another thing I like this movie. The soundtrack, it's amazing. From the opening line to the ending line, which I really, really like the last song. It's fantastic. I mean, you have this kind of beach vibe, and after you see the movie, you really want to go to the beach. I mean, just from the last song in the movie, you want to go to the beach. And it also has this western vibe, this 90s kind of vibe, that you feel like you're there. You feel like this is like a movie experience where you feel like you actually went back in time, saw this movie, and you lived in this decade. You lived in this time. And this is why the movie is so enjoyable. Even though it's like a crime movie, it deals with serious stuff, bloody, which is another thing that's surprising. This movie's not that bloody. Half of the movies there's no violence. After the halfway point is some violence, but nothing like Django Unchained or Inglourious Basterds. I mean, this is probably Tarantino's least violent film, right next to Jackie Brown and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Other than that, it's not really that violent. So my point is, I don't see why people think this is an extremely violent movie. Anyway, besides the awesome dialogue, the awesome story, the awesome characters, the awesome, I don't know, the movie's awesome. It has also great settings. You have like the car, like Vincent and Jules drive. You have this 50s kind of diner, which I love, and the dancing, with Vincent and Mia. And you have these awesome iconic moments, so many in fact that you could just name like any dialogue. You'll be like, okay, that dialogue is the dialogue I'm going to say for this day. You could basically say dialogue in this movie for any occasion, and it'll totally work. And for me, that's why this movie succeeds, because it's memorable, it's quotable, and it's also enjoyable. The three most important things after, the basic story structure of a movie, the story, the characters, the arcs. After that, those are the three most important things that, to audiences and critics, the enjoyability of a movie. That you could just sit down, you can enjoy it, maybe you can think a little bit while you watch it. Overall, just enjoy it, love it. And that's why I give Pulp Fiction an A+. This is a fantastic movie. I'll probably put it on my top 10 favorite movies. I love this movie. This is not my favorite Tarantino movie so far. It is truly a masterpiece. It is truly, I truly love it. I love it, guys. So yeah. I'm gonna actually tell you a funny story. The reason I found out about this movie is because my one of my relatives in Germany, he has a poster of Pulp Fiction. It's super big. He has it in his room that's perfectly 80s preserved. And I found out about it. I asked my parents, and then from there I learned about the movie. So that is how I found out about Pulp Fiction. I also have the collector's edition because, I'm a big Tarantino fan and I like to collect things. And Jackrabbit Slim, you have the menu. I only got this for $2. And you got the collector's edition kind of thing. You can buy this online, and it's actually really worth it because you get to have 2 DVDs. And yeah, I think I'm gonna watch this a lot in the next couple of days. I love this movie. It's fantastic. So yeah. So thank you guys for watching, and peace out.